This is StarTalk.
Hello! Welcome to StarTalk Live. Very special edition from San Francisco's Sketchfest. It is my great honor to bring on your guest host for this evening, the amazing Bill Nye, the Science Guy!
Science! Yes! Eugene, be seated, please. Love that song, love that song. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kids of all ages, you're in for the greatest 2 hours of radio you've ever watched. It's not quite, it's going to be about that. So it's great to see you all. Thank you so much for coming. I am here on behalf of my beloved, dear colleague, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's working Cosmos, but tonight we are going to talk about some serious business. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence. And you could say, well, that's crazy. Or you could say it's serious business. And to that end, we have the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence Institute, the SETI Institute senior astronomer. Give it up for Mr. Seth Shostak. Oh, you know what, Seth? Try that one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then, as though it's not funny enough, people, a former colleague, co-worker of mine, for those of you who never miss an episode of Stargate Atlantis, from Kids in the Hall, Dave Foley. So, gentlemen, you too, Dave. She's not made of stone, Dave. Take it easy. Take it easy. Of course, she's wild for you. No, it's great to see you all, and we're going to talk about something very serious and remarkable and cool, and something that, in my opinion, which, as you know, is correct, will, dare I say it, change the world. There are two questions deep within us, two questions each and every one of you has asked at some point in his or her life. Where did we come from? And, well, that's pretty close. But of those of you listening on the radio, he said, why are we here? And I think this is a Sketchfest, and you bought admission ticket, and you came, and you have to take that up with the people you're sitting with. Where did we come from, and are we alone? And if you meet somebody who says, I've never asked those questions, they're lying, okay? So it's an exciting time, and this is something that goes back all of my academic life. I'm talking about since somewhat before kindergarten. I've wondered these questions. And we have here a guy that really tries to answer this question for real. Seth.
Dave Foley.
So, Seth, what is it you do exactly?
You don't want the answer to that, Bill, but I will tell you what we're trying to find out.
We're not,
What?
there's
Is
no
it a-
video, ladies. Calm down. There's
All right.
no video.
No, we're trying to find out if there are any cosmic confreres, if there's any cosmic company out there. Not just aliens, not just pond scum on Mars, dead or alive, but are there any people or things or Klingons or intelligences that are at least as clever as the average resident of the Bay Area.
So how would we go about
Are you
doing
looking for the Grateful Dead in space?
I need a miracle.
I've heard you can get
Put 'em
great
on
juggling
constant
sticks at Alpha Centauri. Yeah.
So can you get tickets to the Eugene show? Sorry, it's a Grateful Dead reference. Okay, so Seth, how do you go about actually looking for actual extraterrestrial intelligence, actually?
All right, this is something you can use at your next cocktail party. There are only 3 ways to look for aliens that we're using today. One is to just go there and try and find them. That only works if you're going nearby. I mean, you might go to Mars and maybe you find pond scum. But on the other hand, you could probably go to your bathroom and find pond scum. So that's around the bathtub. That's one way. The second way is build a really big telescope and look at the light coming from some planet around some godforsaken other star. Split up that light with a prism. Look at that. Is this getting too technical? And then...
Not yet.
All right.
Yeah.
What is this prism you talk
Yeah,
of?
prism.
Are you saying prison wrong?
Your flashing lights frighten me.
It's a common enough word in California. You split it up with a prism, and then you look for things like oxygen or methane. If you find a lot of, that's right. This room used to have 21% of the air in this room used to be oxygen before you guys got here, okay? And that's because there's life on this planet. So that's scheme number 2. Scheme number 3, which is what we do, we train big antennas on the sky, hoping to imitate Jodie Foster by finding a signal coming from intelligent species. Intelligence means you can build a radio transmitter, and you should probably ask the person sitting next to you, hey, can you build a radio transmitter? And you'll know what you're sitting next to.
Yeah.
So how long have you been
Scum.
at this? How long have you been at this, Seth?
What? Somebody's been at this search for a long time. I think it's in 1960. Frank Drake did an experiment. I've been at
Frank
this,
Drake. Who is Frank Drake?
Frank Drake. Well, Frank Drake is an astronomer. He lives in Santa Cruz. Some of you may have heard of Santa Cruz.
Dude.
And he did the first, keep it weird. He did the first experiment along these lines back in 1960, before most of you were born. Was after I had reached middle age. 1960, he used an antenna in West Virginia. Want to emphasize that. West Virginia, he pointed at a couple of nearby stars, hoping to hear signals from ET.
And did he?
He did hear a signal. It turned out to be the U.S. military. That did not count as intelligence.
But didn't he have some means to filter the U.S. military from his thing?
Well, they didn't give him all the frequencies they were going to be broadcasting on, it turns out.
So why did he do this?
For the very reason you brought up, Bill. Everybody wants to know where they came from and is anybody out there. The third question I know is you're not interested in is where are we going? But those other 2 questions are
one
fundamental.
thing at a time.
Yeah.
And that's also another question, I guess, that little kids ask, right? Especially if it's not McDonald's. Yeah. Where are we going? Where are we going? Why would we? Yeah. And so you grew fascinated with this at some point?
Yeah.
Something happened to you? You're an astronomer.
Yeah,
You looked through telescopes.
Lots of cheesy sci-fi films when I was a kid. I think that, because the aliens, think about it. Aliens are terrific bad guys for the movies, right? When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, all the handy bad guys kind of went away. But aliens, you can make
now we have no more enemies, so that's good.
Right.
Yeah.
Terrific. But, nobody...
I know, I'm glad.
There's no anti-defamation league or anything for the aliens, so they're
Yeah.
not going to complain, and they don't ask for residuals. I think it's a good deal.
So there are many old questions associated with this, but why did you decide to do this with your professional career?
Well,
Because in a sense...
You could have been a chef.
Let me say, in a sense, you've been looking for several years. 1960 is getting to be quite some time ago.
That was Frank Drake. No, I didn't get into this until quite a bit later. 1981,
Yeah, okay, since 81. What are we now? We're at some other bigger number,
Something,
right?
yes.
Yeah. So you haven't heard anything.
It's the American education system. Yeah.
Hey, I can do a little bit of...
Yeah.
Calculus.
No. Look.
But-
The point is, it's a special moment in time. I mean, everybody thinks they're living in a special moment of time. They probably thought that, in the year 1000. God, it's a special moment in time, Bob.
Those people are idiots.
Yeah. I've never felt that.
Year 1000, that is a crappy year.
Well, I don't know, Eugene. That's
Yeah.
wrong. That's wrong. They had, you can joust.
They had shoes, maybe. Maybe they had shoes.
Some did.
They definitely had lemons.
You had the black.
And even that, I'm like,
If you're in the
probably.
Yeah, that's right. You had to be in the right part of the world. I mean,
They
how many
were allowed
Siberian
to burn
lemons?
witches.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had the Black Death.
You
But
know.
look what's going to happen in this century that you're going to see. One is we finally understand biology. So a lot of diseases you're worried about now, you won't be worrying about in 50 years. The second thing is we're probably inventing our own successors. We're making thinking machines. I don't know how you feel about that. I'm not sure how I feel about it. But that's this generation. And the third thing is we're going to, I think, find that you have some company out there.
How do you say that now?
Just the way I said it. But if you ask...
Oh, I see. Let me rephrase that for you.
Yeah.
Bill
phrase-
Nye takes it in the gut. Nicely done. Nice, well played, Dr. Shostak. No, so, if I may, seriously, what's a reasonable population of nearby stars in distance of light years?
Well, I mean, if you're interested in the 1,000 nearest stars, if that.
Pick a number. Who wouldn't?
Pick a
be?
number. Well, look, the number
The
of stars.
1,000 again. What's
Well,
that?
yeah, I'm sorry, I keep saying that. But if they can. It's only the radio audience that cannot. It's our galaxy. Just consider our galaxy. The Milky Way galaxy. There are like a couple of 100 billion stars. A couple of 100 billion. Okay. The number of planets is probably close to 1 trillion. Within 1,000 light years, that's not very far. I've got that on my Honda. 1,000 light years, there are on the order of millions and millions of stars.
Okay, so here's what I'm saying to you. We're listening for one that has been broadcasting for the last 1,000 years, right?
Not necessarily, but you have to assume that if they're 1,000 light years away, they broadcast something there. Come join the Klingon book club or something. And maybe for only 10 minutes, and it arrives today when you happen to be looking, that's good enough.
If we were to broadcast something with our current technology, how long would it take for somebody 1,000 light years? It'd be 1,000 years? That would be sound, meaning that's the speed sound would travel.
Speed of light.
Or signal. Well, it'd be the speed of light, but would a signal travel at the speed of light?
Yes.
Yeah, if it's a
yes.
light
Yeah.
signal. Yeah.
If it's a light signal.
Yeah.
No, Eugene.
Well, but what are
My esteemed colleague.
What if it's like sluggish
Radio
light?
and light
are we
goes the
only are we only listening for light signals? Is that what you're saying?
Well, radio travels close to the speed of light, right?
Radio.
I'm just saying, explain it to someone who maybe didn't major in anything
So,
to do
hang
with
on,
science.
radio
Now-
waves. Can you pick one?
I'm hinting at it with my idiocy.
So radio waves and light waves go the same speed.
Aha! I caught you in a piece of information I like.
So,
But now
but this, you guys, this goes way back, Dave.
No, I was going to say, I actually heard you interviewed recently where you said that we may have gone silent now because we're all broadcasting digitally and the digital signals don't propagate through space.
I hope I didn't say that. It is true. It is true, right? And I don't know, how many of you have rabbit ears on the top of your TV set? Okay, but I don't mean from the club. The thing is that we're shutting down the big towers, the red and white antennas on the outside of town because, in fact, you're getting all your information digitally, or you will soon enough. You'll just have if you don't already have this, you have a fiber optic that comes into your house. You get your internet, your TV, your phone. Some of you have this already. That's the way we're going. So a lot of TV broadcasting will go away. That's true.
But
But here's the but, is that some things aren't going silent, like the radars down at the San Francisco airport. You're probably not going to shut those down. So we're making a lot of... yeah, right.
Unless
we're making
they
a lot
shift
of radio
to GPS.
I don't know how... Well, GPS is all very...
And Hot
But
94.5.
That's
Yeah.
what's going on now. But this search for this, people have been fascinated with this for centuries, yes?
Yes.
I mean,
I
people
assume,
go
yes.
back to see the cities on the moon, canals on Mars. This goes way back.
It does. The ancient Greeks thought about it, too. They thought everything they could see in the sky was inhabited.
Were they all murdered? For saying it out loud.
So,
This is when thoughts were murdery.
Yeah.
but that was in Greece. In Greece, some people, they voted and they had democracies and stuff. So, but Seth, why did they think that? You've given this some deep thought. It is to be expected.
I'm not sure I have. I haven't thought too much about why the Greeks believe that. The Greeks were kind of upbeat. They figured, we're here, there's stuff up there. They came up with nifty ideas like the atom and geometry and
sodomy.
science. Yeah, right.
And
He said that, and he's right.
So that couldn't be the only people that had that idea.
No, but they were the first to perfect it.
They were just really, really good at it.
Yeah.
So,
First thing was the tunics were just perfect for it.
first of all,
Yeah.
when you say tunics, do you mean togas?
No,
Either
tunics,
one.
not
Either-
togas. Togas, that's all drapey. A tunic, it's a nice, tidy little
yeah,
number that your slave boy would wear.
Weren't the
So, all right, of course, but I'm talking about people who are the Greeks were upbeat about it, right?
Yeah.
But Galileo and then his contemporary Bruno, Bruno was burned at the stake over this business, right?
Well, he was burned at the stake. That's true. Kind of a bummer for Bruno. But the facts
Giordano.
are, well, our burner for Bruno. How's that? But the reason he was the reason he was incinerated actually wasn't because he said that there was a multiplicity of worlds. He did say that. He said, undoubtedly.
So that was what? That's
1600 he was burned.
02,
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
He was burned at the stake for suggesting. No, not for suggesting.
No, not for
That wasn't
that wasn't what
controversial.
got
Did they
him
burn
burned.
him for a different reason?
They did.
Because
What
They
reason?
burned him for heresies against the church. Sorry, but
so that was
you're the
unrelated
expression-
to saying there's alien life. So
Yeah.
one, he's like alien life, and they're like fine, and then he's like your God
Exactly.
not totally real, not fine.
you get the drift.
Yeah.
So
Well.
he deserved to be burned, is what you're saying.
He did do a Bernie thing.
Yeah.
So Bruno did not have a telescope, did he? Did he look
No,
through Galileo's
no.
telescope?
He was burned in 1600. Galileo turned a telescope to the sky in about 1609.
But was he influenced by Bruno's trauma?
Bruno Flambe. No, I don't think he was. No.
But that's the case with this is a military instrument, right? The
But-
telescope.
But keep in mind, I mean, Galileo wasn't looking for life in space. He just took this toy that came out of Holland. He didn't invent the telescope, of course. Dutch probably
course.
did that. Yeah,
Of course.
but he built one.
This crowd?
He was the first person to point it not at the ground.
Yeah, the first person not to
You-
point it at the neighbors. That's what
Yeah.
he did. He pointed it up.
Yeah.
There's your whole tunic thing, yeah.
People are remarkably stupid.
Name one.
That guy. I'm just guessing.
You're not wrong.
So Galileo looks at this thing, and did he speculate that there was life on the moon?
Well, in the beginning, he was just sort of astounded to find that, for example, the moon wasn't perfect because,
It's all beat up.
theologians had said, yeah, it's all beaten up. And you see these dark areas, and they kind of look like oceans. And he thought, well, maybe. But it was actually a guy by the name of, Johannes Kepler, I guess his buddies called him John. Kepler actually looked at
I
the
always
moon-
called him Kepi.
Kepi.
The Kepster,
Yo,
keeping
Kep-
up with the Kep man.
Yeah, he thought he saw buried cities on the moon. I mean, for a long time, the moon was believed to house sentient beings.
Named Moon Men.
I've heard tell that even Utah houses sentient beings.
Now. So,
But I've seen no proof.
but then this goes on for another century. Huygens comes along, thinks that there's life everywhere, right?
Not Huygens, but Herschel. Maybe you mean
Herschel.
Yeah, William
Herschel.
Herschel.
It's a
Bill
blur.
Herschel. Bill Herschel.
It's your lisp. It always sounds like you're saying that.
Probably the greatest astronomer who ever lived, actually, and that came from.
Like, that's a big deal?
That's no. You notice they don't ever get Nobel prizes.
Well, you have to make a discovery.
Source pot.
Yeah, Alfred Nobel was cuckolded by an astronomer, so that.
No.
But
Really? Who was it?
that little fact there for you.
Who was it?
Ah.
Was it Anders Celsius or some styling guy?
I don't know, but
Oh, that's like, okay. Carry on.
Okay. But where were we? We were talking about Herschel. Herschel thought there were inhabitants on the sun, or just beneath the luminous layer of the sun. That turns out to be wrong.
Probably,
But on the-
yeah, probably.
Wait, are you saying he's the greatest astronomer? I'm not denying it. I'm just asking for a second reason other than he thought people lived under or in the sun.
We
Eugene,
call it a follow-up in journalism.
yeah.
I get that I didn't know that signals are the same. Anyway, but
I could
go
show you
on.
number 2, and then you'd understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
The second greatest astronomer
Yes,
thought
exactly.
his shoes could sing opera.
Right. But
Whoa, what?
It's a true story.
Really?
True story.
I heard that. Yeah, I heard that. I heard it on the radio.
yeah, well,
But what was great that Herschel did?
yeah, well, I was going to get to that.
Or Huygens.
Herschel had a telescope good enough to look at Mars, everybody's favorite inhabited planet, Mars, and he could see the white, polar caps at the top and the bottom, and the tilt.
The
and
caps
axis.
are made of dry ice, frozen
Well,
carbon
there's
dioxide. There's
yeah,
some water ice.
There's
Yeah.
some water ice too, but whatever. I mean, it has seasons because the axis is tilted. Look,
Eugene's
Mars
just
look-
nodding along. Yeah.
Mars-
Yeah, dry ice, whatever. Anyway,
whatever.
little.
Well, look, the
You've
length
known
of a
this for
day on
years.
Mars, 25 hours. He gave a talk to the Royal Society. I think it was 1784. 1784. This is just at the end of the American Revolution. 1784, and he says that the Martians probably enjoy a lifestyle or a climate, at least, rather similar to our own.
Really?
Yeah, he said that to the Royal Society.
But if we go there now, it's 20 below on a summer day, and
Yeah, well-
and there's nothing to breathe.
Yeah, it's
which
global.
you would notice that you would notice that, and you could say the same about certain times of year in Oakland. Yeah.
not
Wait.
anymore. Yeah.
But wait, my question of so what makes him particularly great? Is it that he was the first to postulate or the first to look at Mars, or
no,
I'm asking.
No, he wasn't the first. To look
What
at
what
Mars.
was he right about?
Well,
Yeah.
Since he was the greatest.
I get that. First of all, he sounds awesome, and he sounds creative. But yeah, what did he? Was he ever like?
He sounds high.
I'm going to tell you, but this is too much of a straight line for you.
That's fine.
Okay. He found Uranus.
I'll leave it
Not
alone.
trivial.
Yeah.
Not trivial.
I prefer the old pronunciation. From when you and I were children.
So these are telescopes from a long time ago.
Yeah.
We have modern telescopes, and people look out there and they observe planets, and they can infer from here that these places are probably inhabitable. But what does it take to be habitable?
Well, that's actually a good question because all we know is what it takes for life like our own to be habitable. So you have to start there because you don't have any other data points. But that means, yeah, maybe something to breathe, but not necessarily. I mean, if you dug a hole 1 mile deep here, take you all night. But if you did that and pulled up the muck at the
I
bottom
could
of
do
the
it in
hole-
2 hours.
Okay. I dig it, man. If you did that and you pulled up the muck at the bottom, and put it under a microscope, you'd see, microbes. So
That don't need air to breathe.
They don't need air.
In fact, if you give them air,
they don't
they're
need
down on
sunlight, no photosynthesis. I mean, they're alive, but they're down there. So, but the generally accepted, I mean, there's no good definition of life, right? I mean, you might think of Justice Potter talking about pornography. I'll know it when I see it. Life is kind of the same way, right? So,
It can definitely high five. I think we can all kind of agree that it's not life if it can't go, yeah! But what else?
And you know what?
Random high five.
And if it leaves you hanging, it is dead to me.
Well said, Dave.
Yeah.
And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to Sketchfest from San Francisco at the Marine Memorial Auditorium, Marine Memorial Theater. And this is StarTalk Radio Live, and we will be right back.